Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I am your host, Patrick Vallejos. We are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear. And of course, we will be doing a deep dive into the ongoing case of Abby and Libby, who were murdered in Delphi, Indiana, February 13th, 2017. We are now 12 days out from the trial. And there's going to be a lot of craziness going on now that we're getting down to the wire. So I just want to make sure you guys have a safe space where we can kind of stay grounded. Sorry, I'm trying to clean my glasses here. Got smudges all over them. Alrighty. Kitty cat. Yep, that's what time it is here, 7:30. I've already had my breakfast, enjoying my coffee. Metal Mama, welcome in. Anthony, good to see you. Good morning to you. Sherry Wilson. Timmy. Beth, how are you? Welcome in. Dave G, hello. Jody Len. CJK, good morning to you. Yankee Ghost, how are you? Boo. Boo is in the house. Linda, how are you? Do you think Richard Allen will wear a suit or jumpsuit to trial every day? I think he'll wear a suit. You know, I hope he does. I hope he wears what he wants to wear. I don't think that the jury should see him all shackled up like that. Good morning, Rescue. CJK, I should have been in KC watching granddaughter play softball, but my daughter forgot to book 2 rooms. Oh. Darn it. CJK, Allen can wear a suit if his attorneys or mom or wife provides him a suit. Hey, Jill. So I think today I want to start off with kind of why family and friends may not have come forward about Richard Allen and why they had plenty of fuel for plausible deniability. Not to mention just human nature. You don't want to accept the fact that somebody you know could be. It's already hard enough to accept the fact somebody could be capable of killing 2 young girls, like what happened here with Abby and Libby in Delphi, let alone your own husband, son, brother, family member, friend, whatever. So I believe human nature is already kind of programmed for you to kind of want to deny that. But I think the investigation kind of fueled that. But I also want to clear it up. See, here's an example. Share my screen with you. So during the 2018 or 2019, I'm sorry, new direction presser, I think that Friday before the presser, they put out a bulletin. And here they kind of give you a list. It is important to distinguish these points about the 2 sketches. Here they state they are not the same person. Now, a lot of people get confused by that because the older sketch looks a lot like Richard Allen, but I think the younger sketch looks a lot like Richard Allen, maybe even more so, you know, depending on what your opinion is. It also states here the person depicted in the original release sketch is not presently a person of interest in the investigation. So, if at any point you were suspecting Richard Allen and you thought that he looked more like the older sketch and you're reading this, you're thinking, okay, well, I can rest easy. The person that I was planning on tipping in, the friend of mine, Richard Allen, is not presently a person of interest. The sketch released on April 22nd is representative of the face of the person captured in the video on Liberty German's cell phone as he was walking on the high bridge. Person in the sketch released April 22nd is described as having a youthful appearance but could fall in the age range from his 20s to late 30s. Richard Allen doesn't fall into that category. He definitely doesn't fall into the 20s. He might look a lot younger than his age at the time, which I think was around 45. So maybe in his late 30s, possibly. But still, if you were suspecting Richard Allen or planning on possibly turning him in, this would fuel your plausible deniability. This person's appearance could look different today if he has grown a mustache, beard, or let his hair grow longer or cut his hair shorter than depicted in the sketch, which is exactly what Richard Allen did. So this might have been a little bit helpful because he gained a lot of weight. He got some poofy cheeks and he grew a long beard that kind of resembled Derek Jerman's beard. So what they mean by this person is no longer a suspect is this. So if you go to the 2018 Crime Con, we had Holman, you had Anna, I think you had Becky and Mike sitting up on the stage. I'm going to read a transcript, part of a transcript from that exchange there. I think I have it. Yeah, here it is. Now, we've played this video in the past, but I think they hit me with a copyright. So I'm not going to play the video. I'm just going to read the transcript. Good morning, V. Good to see you. Welcome in. Susie, good morning. Emily, how are you? Happy Saturday to everybody. Hope you're getting ready for Halloween. Okay, so this is what Sergeant Holman, Sergeant at the time, Holman, he said, I don't want to go into great detail, but they were near or on the trail. We have several sketches, but we've identified some of the people that they sketched. One of them was Mike Patty. After when they and everybody goes, what, Mike Patty? They start freaking out. And then Mike Patty's like, whoa, 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 hey, I was out there looking that day when the phone calls came in. So, kind of got a little defensive. But he knows what social media is going to do by hearing that. So Holman says, after they called the police, let me clarify that. I know that there were plenty of people out there, numerous people afterwards helping with the search, and we got a lot of sketches of those people as well, including Mike, I think. Maybe not. This sketch is several months. It didn't just happen in one day. So what they mean is what they did was they kind of created a Frankenstein sketch. And let me show you all of the sketches that they did have. So what they meant to say was that it's narrowed down. They they don't want to use the older sketch anymore because a lot of the features do not blink. Not all of the features belong to the killer or the suspect. Some of them do, but not all. Remember, the three best witnesses were the young kids. They were close. They got a good look at the guy, and they really hit it on the head when it came to the eyes, right? The eyes and the nose. But the rest of the features came from Dan McCain. We know DP gave a sketch. Here's all the other sketches that they had. Now, to me, this is the best one they had. This looks like Richard Allen to me with his mouth covered and probably wearing that gray beanie that he was wearing the months prior to the murders. But I mean, they got the eyes and his strange nose. And this is a very specific nose. This doesn't look like my nose. This doesn't look like Mike Patty's nose. This doesn't look like a lot of people's nose, but it does look like Richard Allen's nose. He has a very specific nose. It's very large, right, and rounded on the tip. Now here's another sketch. So remember, you have people right at about 4:30 who began kind of searching on the trails. You had other men and witnesses were coming forward saying, "Hey, I did see a man on the trails. Let me describe him to you." Well, some people saw Mike Patty, some people saw one of the McCain brothers, and some of them saw the killer. Of course, we know that this is Betsy Blair's. And one thing that's interesting about this sketch is the curly hair, right? Now, we don't know if she saw curly hair. She's doing the best that she can. For all we know, he was wearing a beanie cap. He could have taken off his face covering. It does appear that the bridge guy was smoking a cigarette. But one thing you have is this hooked, elongated nose. And the eyes, I mean, these eyes match Richard Allen to a T. It's almost as if they took the photograph and sketched these eyes on from his photograph. I'm telling, like, it's identical, which is very rare because a sketch normally, you're not expecting that. But those are the many different sketches. So what Holman means and what they meant by this guy is no longer a suspect, it means that the majority of the facial features that were included are now being excluded. As the investigation progresses and evolves, they've narrowed it down. Like, okay, well, at 4:30, we believe the killer had left. We now have CCTV footage from the Hoosier Harvest Store, and we have a new eyewitness who saw the killer leaving at about 3:57. So they're using the process of elimination, saying, okay, the guy that you probably saw was probably Mike Patty. So when they say that this person is no longer a suspect, that's what they mean. But the way they word it is very dangerous because you have people like Dan Howard, who is confirmed friend of, at the very least, Kathy Allen, who say things like this: hey, they've talked to this man, they've released him. That's been updated a while ago. But let me finish on with that transcript. Maybe there's some more helpful information in here. So Sergeant Holman says, after they called the police, let me clarify that. I know that there were plenty of people out there, numerous people afterwards helping with the search. And we got a lot of sketches of those people as well, including Mike, I think. Maybe not. The sketch is several months. It didn't just happen in one day. And then he goes on later to say, you can ask me tough questions. I'll answer them. Again, it takes a lot of time. I'm not a sketch artist. The FBI, actually, an agent from the FBI did the sketch. And, I think when somebody sketches it, it takes like 10 minutes. It takes several weeks. But to get the information to find the people that we believe. So you had Trooper Bryant that did all the individual sketches, and then you had the FBI compile it into one. But to get the information to find the people that we believe saw the person that day near the time of the murders, that takes months. So they need to get a sketch out there as fast as they can using the information that they have right away. But as time goes on and through the process of elimination, They understand that, hey, you may have not seen the suspect, you may have seen somebody that was out there searching. He goes on to say, so we had to locate these people, interview them, find out what they really saw. Did they really see the guy on the bridge from the video? Or did they see Mike out there helping search? Or did they see somebody else out there helping with the search? So we had to identify those people. And once we felt like we've identified the people that actually saw the guy on the bridge, then the sketch itself took again several weeks. They sketched it, looked at it. No, that's not correct. So they're re-interviewing people. They're coming up with new sketches, and then they're sitting down with their witnesses saying, hey, are we getting closer? Like, no. There's a couple people still aren't convinced that that's the proper hat, but that's the hat that the sketch artist could come up with as close to what the witnesses were describing. And I know the superintendent, Doug Carter, said, don't focus on the sketch. And we got a lot of calls on that. I think what he meant to say was, there's 4 or 5 of us here right now. And if we pick somebody out of the room right now and identify them to a sketch artist, there would be 5 different sketches. Exactly. Especially, a day or two later. And in the case of Sarah Carba, it was like a month later. They'd have similar features as we believe this sketch has of the guy on the bridge, but they'd be different, a little different. Let me see if I have any examples. I might. Here's a little video I put together. Maybe this will be helpful.
Cable snap. There's the word shirt coming up. 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 Cable snap. There's the word shirt coming up.
So notice the nose. Very specific. Welcome in, Sensei. Good to see you. Welcome in, Jarmy. Phil Bond. Linda Hoarders. Who will be allowed in the courtroom? They have very limited seats for the family on both sides. They have limited seating for the press pool. So you're going to have kind of like a wedding. You're going to have a group on the left, a group on the right. I think like 10 seats or something like that. Hey, Nana. That information was provided in the decorum. I don't know if I have that. Let me see. I might have it handy. Pretty sure I have it in my Discord, but that's the gist. Hey, what's up, Brad? Good morning to you. Dave G. Witness statements are notoriously unreliable. Yeah, and it's true. What the reason that they have sketches and they do these things is because they don't have anything else. Early on they were expecting to find maybe some information on the girls' phones. Maybe they were going to find a motive or somebody that had a vendetta against the girls, or maybe certain sex offenders or something in the area. They thought they were going to get this thing solved right away. Good to see you, Linda. Hey, Cheeks, good morning to you. Good morning to everybody. So am I. Good. Sleuth, do you believe that BG was wearing a mouth covering? I personally do not. Well, yeah, I mean the witnesses they all that got the best look at him say that he was. But the thing about mouth coverings, you can put them on and you can take them off. Now, from what I can see in doing my own analysis on the Bridge Guy video, Libby's video, it appears that he's smoking a cigarette and at one point he spits it out. So I think once he went to the bridge and began smoking a cigarette, he wasn't expecting Betsy Blair to kind of creep up on him. So yeah, he may have been plotting. He may have been on those trails looking for a victim. He didn't care if it was Betsy Blair. He didn't care if it was the three teenagers. He didn't care if it was Abby and Libby. It was all about the opportunity and when it presents itself. But we know he's a smoker. We know that for a fact. Now, if you can tell me how you're going to smoke with the face covering, I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but it doesn't sound fun. So if he's out on the bridge buying his time, he's going to remove his face covering. He's going to take off his hood. There's nobody around. Now I'm going to enjoy myself. But then here comes Betsy Blair, gets a good look at him from about 50 yards. Doesn't pay him any mind, you know. She's not out there looking for a killer. She's not like, okay, I need to get a really good look at this guy so that I can give the sketch, 2 days. It's not what she's doing. She's going about her business. She's not even thinking about this guy. But yeah, I do believe he had his face covered. And I also believe that you can see his face covering down under near his chin in the video. Hey, Red Queen, how are you? Mustang, what's up? Jarmy says definitely not Richard Allen. What makes you say definitely? So they're railroading an innocent man. Hey, Squeaky, how you doing? I think the person that came up with the second sketch was the same person that came up with the hideous Frank's motion, a single man walking alone resembling Wally Cleaver. Hey, good to see you, D. Hey, Humanimal. Jacqueline. Hey, Sensei. With the members flex. Thanks for all you do, Sleuth. I hope it goes to trial and finally this case can be heard so the families get justice and some sort of closure. Yeah, I mean, we want it to go to trial. We want the facts to come out. We want the details. We want whatever the family wants. We want whatever the state of Indiana wants and what they need. This case is affecting them first and foremost. But me personally, I do want a trial. It's just my opinion that we're not going to see one. I believe we'll get about a week, maybe 2, 1.5 at the most, and then we'll see a change of plea. But that's just my opinion. And unfortunately, you do have to suffer through that. That's the price you pay. But at least I don't shove it down your throat. There were talks about finding a cigarette that looked like it was about a day old in the radio chatter. Clever. Clever girl. I see what you did there. Hey, what's up, Cindy? Yeah, thank you for your support. Shout out to all my members. There's an issue right now with YouTube. Whenever I set up my members' live streams, they they don't allow comments. So I'm going to try to set up the live stream and do it through YouTube. Um, I just don't. I don't know. Maybe I have to use OBS. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they have it fixed, but it's getting a little annoying. Hey, welcome in, Carla. I have always felt that between guys and down the hill, the words have been hidden. But hear the girl screaming, "Let us go." Just my perception. Yeah, I did an old video where we heard something kind of distorted in the background. It sounds like "Let us go," but now I believe it could be "He has a gun." But yeah, it's definitely edited. Um, they've admitted to it. I also made a video where investigators are talking to a reporter, and they say something along the lines like, "It's as if the killer told him, hey, go in this direction or do this," and they didn't want to listen at first. So then he had to tell them again in a different way. Like he became frustrated or something. What's up, TJ? V says I'm still waiting for a defense continuance. Well, I don't know if they can. I don't know if they can get a continuance pushed through without the judge's approval. So I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can clear that up. So I don't know if they can get that. I feel like they're done. It's either trial or, they throw in the towel. But I think they're waiting for jury selection. I feel like they're waiting to see what the jury looks like. Maybe they feel like it'll be favorable. Good to see you, Beth. None of your business. Sleuth, exactly. What day did Richard Allen call the tip line? Since the image was released on the 15th, I thought he made his statement before the image was released. Yeah, it may have been the 14th. Probably around the time they discovered the bodies, and they were going on the news asking people, "Hey, if you can come forward, let us know. We'd like to know if you were on the trails that day, if you took any photographs. We'd like to get a look at those photos, see who's in the background." But yeah, it was definitely before the images were released. Dave G, do we finally know whether or not there is DNA at the crime scene? Well, there's DNA at every crime scene. There's DNA everywhere. But as far as them having actually Richard Allen's DNA or even a partial match, that I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like if they did, we would know about it. Because while they were interrogating him, they had no issue telling him, "Hey, like, we've matched, we found a bullet and we've matched it to your gun. We know that you're part of this. We know that you had something to do with this." Now, at this point, they're trying to elicit a confession. Now, the best way to do that would simply to say, "Hey, we found your DNA. We have a DNA match. Like, we don't need a confession from you." But that would help us out. And by telling him that, "Hey, we found your DNA," you're more likely to get a confession. So I just don't see them withholding that information if they have it. Thank you, CJK. Look at that flex. There's a bicep for you. Thank you for that. Says keep fighting for justice for Abby and Libby. Now we know that corruption, it is a real thing. We know that people, innocent people, go to prison all the time. They're mistreated. We cover that. We don't hide from the fact, and we don't hide from those possibilities. Once again, we're not pro law enforcement. We're not pro prosecution. We're pro victim, victims' families, and most importantly, we're pro truth. So to take away from all those other cases and to try to say that that's what we're dealing with, I think it takes away from the actual cases of that we've seen corruption. For example, the Zion murders. We had a man who was held for 5 years. He never went to trial. Um, he was held in an interrogation room for up to 48 hours. He literally slept in the interrogation room overnight. I mean, we're talking about a huge injustice. So he was being held for about 2 years, and then they discovered um, a man was arrested for another assault while he was in the military, and they got a match on the DNA. And we're not talking about DNA that was on the bodies or near the bodies. We're talking about the DNA that was inside the victim. And the victim was this guy's daughter. And he was coerced. He made a confession under duress. Shit, I might even have that here if you guys want to watch it. It's very disturbing. So when you try to compare the the Richard Allen case to cases like Jerry Hobbs, you're doing a disservice to them, and you're taking away what happened to those people, because what's happening to them is not what's happening to Richard Allen. You know, the prosecution has been fighting to get to trial. They're ready for trial. They've been ready for trial. It's the defense that isn't going to trial. With the case of Jerry Hobbs, it was in reverse. You know, they were delaying everything. But here, look, this is the confession that he made, and eventually he was exonerated due to evidence. They made they actually wrote out his confession for him and made him read it on camera. And I mean, he can barely do all he wants. He thinks that if he reads this confession, he will be allowed to leave that room because they beat him into nothing. They took his humanity away from him. And this is why I'm telling you guys, we don't shy away from this. We know that corruptions exist, we know conspiracies exist. But to say that that's what's going on here with Delphi takes away from the reality of the these types of cases that are really going on. So let's look at the coerced confession of Jerry Hobbs, who literally is confessing to killing his own daughter and was proven that it did not happen. He's been proven to be innocent. He had nothing to do with it. Remember, this is after 48 hours of him literally being beat down mentally by these investigators, by these scumbags here. We're not here to support people like this. And I don't think other law enforcement, good cops would either. There's nobody that's going to sit back and stand beside these men who did this to this man. And he will never get his life back. These 5 years and the wreckage that followed, he'll never get it back. These motherfuckers right here should be in prison. But to compare what's going on with Richard Allen to this, it's just not realistic. So let's look at what a real false confession looks like and what real corruption looks like.
My name is Detective Sweats with the Lake County Major Crime Task Force. I'm here on 5/10/05 at approximately 14:06 hours. I'm with Detective Harris, and I'm also with Jerry Hobbs. We're at the Zion Police Department. I am asking Jerry consent to read, electronically record him while he reads his statement. Jerry has agreed to read his statement. Jerry Hobbs, is that your name?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is case 05-5747, Lake County Major Crime Task Force case.
Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Sensei. We'll go to her super chat. Thank you so much. Have the families been seen the unedited video? I can't remember. That would be difficult to hear being confronted by their son to be killed. Yeah, they did. I believe that they did. Some opted not to, and I believe Anna and Becky did. That's where all the creepy guy stuff came from. Let's go to Audra. Thank you for the super chat. It says justice for Abby and Libby. Thank you for all you do, Sloop. Thank you, Audra. I am just the master of ceremonies. You guys are the substance. This platform is created for victims' families, and for you guys to have a safe space. You know, I just happen to be the mic controller.
Jerry, is this a consent for electronic recording that you gave me earlier?
Yes, sir.
Just a couple minutes ago?
Yes, sir.
And you wrote your name down? And is this your signature giving me consent to record this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and myself and Detective Harris witnessed this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Earlier, actually yesterday, at approximately.
Okay, just I want to preface this by telling you guys he's been interrogated for 48 hours straight. He slept in this interrogation room. He's been beat down, and he's been proven to be innocent from this. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We're looking at a 100% innocent man here.
On the 9th, approximately 10:37 in the morning, Detective Harris and I first met with you. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And before we told you we wanted to speak with you about the death of Laura Hobbs and Crystal Tobias, and we read you your rights first. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is this the form that we read to you and showed you, and we read all your rights?
Yes, sir.
Is this your signature on the form that these are all the rights you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're aware of your rights, and you agreed to speak with me and Detective Harris about this. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, at the bottom of this page on the right-hand side, is this your signature
Yes, sir.
saying that you have received these rights and you understand them? Okay. And that was given voluntarily?
Yeah.
Okay. Jerry, during the course of the time we've been talking with you since yesterday morning at 10:37 until this morning early hours, myself and Detective Harris, investigators from the Lake County Major Crime Task Force, have spoken with you about this case. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
And during the course of that, have you given a verbal statement to us as far as the facts from what you know of them, of the incident? I mean, you spoke with me about what happened and you told me what happened. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You just need to take your hand off because of the camera. Okay. Now, after that, and you told me what the facts of what you had as far as knowledge and your involvement in this, and I asked you if you wanted to write something out, and you declined. You said you didn't really feel like writing what had happened. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then I asked you, do you want me to type out basically what you told me, the statement that, you gave to me verbally, and you agreed that you wanted me to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then at some point, I typed up the statement and presented it to you, and then we both read this statement together. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and is this a copy of the statement or the statement that I read to you? Okay, and is this your initials at the beginning and the end of the statement?
Yeah.
Okay, and this is your signature of the statement?
Yes, sir.
And the date of 5/10/05 that you put on there? Okay, and would you like to read the statement electronically for us while being recorded?
Yeah.
Okay, can you read that out loud and please be clear and just start from right here?
On May 8th, 2005, Sunday about 3 p.m., I got home with my wife Sheila and our 4 kids were flying kites at the lake. My daughter asked if she could go out and play with her friends. Sheila said it was okay even though she was still grounded. After stealing Sheila's $40. I didn't agree with letting her go, but I didn't say anything at the time. At about 4:30 p.m., I decided to check on Laura and bring her home. I walked by my myself from my house to the park into the trail where my son Jerry said Laura hangs out. I was walking on a dirt trail and I ran into Laura and her friends Crystal on the trail. I told Laura that she had to come home and she argued with me and I grabbed her by the arm. She tried pulling away and was telling me to let her go. Crystal also telling me to let Laura go. Crystal pulled out a small knife from her pocket and again told me to let Laura go. Laura was fighting me and I punched her in the face and she dropped to the ground. Crystal came towards me and I took the knife from her and I punched her in the face and she went down. And then went in a rage and stabbed Crystal in the chest and neck. I was up towards her. She stopped moving and I went over to Laura and she was moving around and fighting me. I punched her in the face again and stabbed her in the back, neck, and I also stabbed her in the face. By the eye.
Jerry, why don't you take a second and just take a breath?
It all happened so fast. When she was moving around, I think I stabbed Crystal 6 times lower too. When I stopped moving, I pulled Crystal over about 30 feet away from the trail until I rescued that. She was next to her line, so I went back on the trail and threw a knife as far as I could towards the park area to sunrise. The knife was a pointy brown wooden handle, tatted knife. About 46 inches long, then I went back home and washed up my hands in the bathroom sink. I was wearing all the clothes I have on now. On Monday morning, I took art and where the girls' bodies were, and they were just how I left them, except they were swollen up. I'm sorry for that. Things just got out of hand when I lost it. I was just trying to be a father and take control of my children. I wanted to cooperate and help protect this man to me and drink truly well. And has been made to me.
Okay. Is this your statement, Jerry?
Yeah, let's do it.
Was this given free voluntarily?
Yes.
Okay. That's the conclusion of the statement.
All he wants to do is get out of that room. So when we talk about confessions and how they're not always what you think they are, this is why. We've also showed a video of a man who confessed to killing his father, who wasn't even dead. He turned up about a day and a half later, and they put this guy into a medical facility. And then instead of releasing him, once they realized that he did not kill his father, even though they forced him to confess, they left him in the hospital. They didn't even release him. So we're not here to say that corruption doesn't exist, conspiracies don't exist. We're just here to show the difference between what's going on with Richard Allen and what a real corrupt situation looks like. That's it. It's that simple. Hello, Sybil. Silas, how are you doing? There was a comment that I wanted to go back to. I think it was, who was it? Oh, Purple Amaryllis. Welcome in. I do find the comment, "You're guilty of something and I'm going to prove it," extremely alarming. Why do you find that alarming? The reason he made that comment was because they got the results back from the unspent bullet. So it's at this point they know Richard Allen's involved. They asked him a direct question. Has anybody had access to your firearm other than you? He says, absolutely no. Then they make the statement, okay, well, you're guilty of something and we're going to prove it. That's what they mean by that. We've connected you to the crime scene. We know you were there that day. We know you had something to do with these murders. Squeaky Will is asking, anybody know if the death penalty is still on the table? Doesn't that play a huge role in selecting a jury? Well, technically it is, but from all of the experts and the lawyers that I've talked to, they said it's extremely unlikely that it'll be presented now. But from what I understand, both attorneys, Baldwin and Rosie, are death penalty qualified. Welcome in Myron. He was kept in a prison with Odinist type guards around him 24/7 for how long? It was the Odinist guards. I'm sure he would say anything to get out of that hell. The man was eating his own shit. Yeah, I'm sure he would. Kate B. Sleuth, if a video of you wearing a hoodie and shades walking on a bridge popped up on TV, would your wife not recognize you? Well, what if you had already spoken to police, right? So you have this video that pops up, and maybe your wife was with you. Maybe she went with, we don't know that she wasn't with him, but we definitely know that she was probably aware that he went and spoke with Dan Doolin. That might even be the reason that he went and spoke with Dan Doolin, or why he called the tip line. Everybody knew he was at the trails. He was seen at the trails. If he doesn't come forward, they're going to come looking for him. So let's say that my wife did see me on a bridge, and she knows that that's me, but she also knows I've already spoken to police. What do you do then? Yes, and he drastically changed his appearance during those 6 years. He sure did. Kate B, he ate his own shit voluntarily. He was turning down prison food. I mean, that's disgusting. And I'm not here to say that being in solitary confinement and other inmates yelling at you constantly isn't going to drive you mad. But that doesn't mean that he's not guilty. But it does make me hesitate on any kind of a confession. You know, we need to see it in context. What was said in the confessions? Apparently, he gave a detailed confession about what he did, about why he placed the girls the way he did, how he did it, what weapon was used, what his motive was. He told, apparently, he told his doctor that it was sexually motivated. He just didn't, he wasn't able to assault the girls, that something went wrong. And in order to keep them quiet, he committed a murder. Exactly, Jer. That's no confession, right? He's being led the entire time. He was probably coached before they turned on the camera. That's what a false confession looks like, guys. That's not what happened during the interrogation of Holman and Richard Allen. Richard Allen didn't play ball. They had enough to arrest him. They arrested him. He made threats against his life. There was a safekeeping order. The only place they could put him was in the prison cell where he can be monitored 24 hours a day. And then when you see his attitude change, right? When we saw this behavior, let me see if I still have that photo. Oh, did I remove it? Oh, no, here it is. So when you see his demeanor change, what happened? They took him out of the prison. He's now in a county jail. He looks different. So what it is he's acclimated. And if you go look at the statistics, these people are the only danger to them is themselves. And it's right before trial. The only time these folks try to off themselves is right before they're facing a trial. And in a county jail is when they have the most success. So if anybody gives a shit about Richard Allen, like they claim to, they would understand that it was for his own protection. But they don't care about Richard Allen. They care about a narrative. And they have it in their mind that Gull, Holman, Brad Holder, McClellan, that they're all in it together. And you'll never hear them mention the name Abby and Libby because it's like nails on a chalkboard. Welcome in, Kate B. Richard gave the families photos of the girls on the house while working at CVS. That was cold blooded. Well, I mean, it's only cold blooded if he's convicted of the murders, right? If he's acquitted, then it's a nice gesture. But yeah, if he's the guilty man, that's some sick shit. For all we know, that's how he was targeting the girls. He worked right across the street from Kelsey. For all we know, he went to Dairy Queen. He could have gone to Riley Park. You know, he could have overheard a conversation about what the girls were doing. You know, he could have been stalking these girls for sure. We don't need Anthony Shots for Richard Allen to be stalking Abby and Libby. Jacqueline, in my opinion, after he made valid confessions to his wife, she called his attorneys and they advised him to act crazy and give invalid confessions. Well, I don't think that they would do something like that. That might even be illegal. But I don't think Richard Allen needs any direction from his wife or his attorneys to do that all on his own, right? Once he has the reaction from his wife, like, oh my God, I can't stomach, she's still in denial, right? After he's confessing to them, like, hey, I did this, he's telling them things like, hey, if this gets too hard for you, I'll tell them everything that they want to know. And she's saying, oh, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And then hangs up the phone. Well, that tells Richard Allen that he's screwed up, that's not the direction that's going to benefit, you know, the people that care about him the most, which I believe are the motive for the murders. He doesn't care about himself. He doesn't care about Abby and Libby or probably anybody other than his wife, daughter, and mother. So if those people are reacting harshly to him wanting to confess, he's going to shut up. And he doesn't need any direction from his wife or his attorneys to start acting crazy and to do what he's been doing, which is being proactive. Kind of like when they said, hey, we know your gun was involved in the murders. He says, well, I didn't shoot those girls. You know, he's playing dumb. It's another countermeasure. Or maybe even confessing to things that never happened. Like, I admitted I shot him, you know, they were running away and I shot him in the back. Well, he's smart enough to know how that's going to play out. Hey, what's up, Gambies? Yeah, and these confessions to his wife and mother were very early on. You know, this was before the quote unquote torture. Hey, Silas. Yeah, not that we can see, right? I haven't seen any evidence that this was some kind of Odinistic or Asatru ritual. But I'm happy to, you know, to look at anything that anybody wants me to put up on the screen that doesn't involve speculation. Hey, Cynthia, apparently over 60. But in all fairness, he also a few times stated that he did not commit these crimes. But when he was at his most comfortable was with Dr. Walla, and apparently that's when he gave a detailed confession. I mean, from start to finish. Intimate details that only the killer would know. Now, some might argue, well, at this point, he's seen everything. Like that, I don't know. I don't know what he's seen. I don't know what his attorney showed him. I don't know those details. Cindy, I'm not sure. I really hope not, because it's pieces of shit like that gives all these other cops a bad name, and it makes people lose trust in the system. And I don't trust the system anyway, but unfortunately we need it. And to compare what's going on with Richard Allen to the Zion murders or something like that is ridiculous. That's not what we're dealing with here. Like, we're going to stand up for these men and women who have been falsely arrested and put in prison for that. And that's what we're going to do. But we're also going to say that that's not what we're seeing here with Richard Allen. And one of the things that I've noticed with folks who are saying that this is some kind of injustice, you never hear them talk about Abby and Libby. You never hear them talk about the victim unless it's in a poor light. So you're going to see a pattern there. Kate B says, Kathy took her ring off. She's done with him. I don't see him sitting through a trial. He'll change his plea to guilty. Well, I don't know that. I haven't seen any proof of that. Yeah, CJK. I mean, that's not justice. I mean, imagine your daughter being brutally murdered and then you become victimized while you're going through that. You're already on the verge of a mental health crisis. All they're doing is pushing you over that ledge and then dragging you through the rocks at the bottom of the cliff. They're dragging your mangled body through the ravine that you were just pushed off of, metaphorically speaking. You guys hang tight. I'm going to go double check on my dogs, make sure they're not destroying my living room. Hold on. Of course. Can't leave him alone for 5 minutes. I could hear the eldest out there snitching. Of course, my daughter's jacket's outside. My sandals are outside. A pack of markers, batteries. Molly says, I think he's going to roll the dice with the jury. That's really his only chance. Mistrial. Rumor has it Allen confessed prior to his arrest. If true, I hope it comes out at trial and that person testifies. That'd be huge. I haven't heard anything about that. Oh, yeah. Let me see if I have that video. Yeah, they were like joking about the dog and all kinds of stuff. So that's why when we talk about the confessions, I don't look at it too much, you know. Oh, here it is.
Murder.
Okay, so they make this guy, they literally drive this man crazy. They get him to confess to killing his own father, and they found a lot of evidence too. Him and his father got into a big fight that day. Everybody knew about it. They found his, spot in the home that had his father's blood, and the father had been missing now for like a day, maybe a day or two. And now they have him in the interrogation room. So let's watch this. And you're going to watch a man being coerced, driven to the point of insanity, psychosis. You're going to see him tear off his own clothes. You're going to see him dig his own fingernails into his arms, causing himself to bleed. And eventually he confesses to the murder of his father, and then he's placed into a mental institution for a 72-hour hold. But the first 24 hours, after the first 24 hours of that hold, his father turns up and says, "What? I was just pissed off. I went and stayed with my girlfriend." And they kept him in that facility for another 48 hours after that.
Your dad.
No, I did
Yes, you
not.
did. Yeah,
Yes.
Daddy's dead because of you.
Daddy's dead.
Hours of interrogation. Police lying to a suspect in the Inland Empire until he falsely confesses.
Okay, now look at him laying on the ground. So nothing like this happened to Richard Allen, right? At all.
To murder. And now the city of Fontana is paying a massive settlement tonight after police questioned a man for 17 hours until he confessed to killing his father, who's still alive. KCAL News reporter Tom Waite joins us now with what led up to this false and really hard to watch confession.
It was, Pat, and I watched many hours of this intense interrogation, and it's very eye-opening, and we'll get to it in just a second here. But the video of the interrogation is fascinating and disturbing. An innocent man spends hours being grilled by police. When it's over, he's in the throes of a full mental breakdown, and under pressure, he lies to detectives about killing his own father.
We don't think you're a monster, Thomas.
Fontana police detectives grilling Thomas Perez Jr. after Perez Jr. reported his father missing. This interrogation descends into what's being described as psychological torture after the detectives extract a false murder confession from Perez.
We just told you we found your dead dad, and you don't give a.
That detective is lying. Perez Sr. was not dead. But in this moment, Fontana detectives don't know where he is. Perez Jr. reported him missing after they had an argument. A search warrant was served at the family home. Perez Sr.'s wallet, cell phone, and even some blood stains were discovered. A canine also alerted to the odor of possible human remains. Detectives unleash an unrelenting interrogation of Perez Jr.
Murdered your dad.
No, I did
Yes, you
not.
did. Yeah,
Yes.
Daddy's dead.
Okay, so first of all, he's dealing with the fact that he's just learned that his father died, which was a bold-faced lie. So that's enough to bring anybody on the brink of insanity, right? So this is them bringing him to the edge of the cliff of insanity and shoving him off and then dragging him through the quarry beneath.
Dead because of you.
No.
Yes, not only that, but poor Morgan here.
Margot.
Sorry, Margot had to witness it.
You think it's a big joke?
I walked through the blood.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Yes.
The psychological effects of hours of grilling take their toll. Detectives keep pushing. Perez spirals further. Eventually, Perez Jr. makes a false confession to killing his father. All this, and 71-year-old Perez Sr. was alive. He went to his girlfriend's home, but didn't have his cell phone. Perez Jr.'s attorney.
The worst act.
Okay. So Now, this is a completely different scenario, but the reason that I don't put too much weight on the confessions is because if he was placed into solitary confinement, it could create something similar to the atmosphere that the law enforcement officers are creating in that interrogation room, right? The same uh, atmosphere to drive somebody into psychosis. So, although I do believe that Richard Allen could have been driven into psychosis, causing maybe some false confessions, I just don't put too much into that. But it doesn't mean that he's innocent, right? Because there's people who are in prison now who go crazy all the time. And I'm not here to stand up for our justice system or for the prison system, but I'm also not here going to stand up for a child killer who just happens to be being dragged through a shitty system. We can have both, we can have both discussions at the same time. Happy birthday, Shadow. Richard Allen called on the 13th, met with Doolin. No, I don't think it was on the 13th. I think he called on the 14th, met with Doolin on the 14th. He didn't call Doolin, he called the tip line. The officers responded to the call, and then they arranged a meeting. So it could have been something like, okay, it's my understanding you called the tip line and you were there. You were at the trails yesterday. Are we able to meet? Well, yeah, I'm at the grocery store right now with my family. If I'm willing to, if you want to come down here and talk with me. So for Doolin, there's no red flags popping up. I'm sure hey, Cynthia, I'm sure he's already seen those photos. Keith Hubert, yeah, he did. He was drinking toilet water and he was, I don't know if, yeah, he was eating his own feces and smearing them. I think that's factual information. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't call on the 13th. The girls' bodies were discovered around 12:15 on the 14th, and there was a press conference later that day. Well, not even that much further. I think it was like an hour after that. But they don't need the confessions. But they will be allowed. It's been ruled that he was, that he wasn't crazy at the time. Could he have been? Yes. And I don't put too much weight into confession, especially if somebody's being held in solitary confinement. It could drive them crazy for sure. That doesn't mean that they're innocent. You can be a guilty man and also be driven crazy. I don't know, none of your business. I think if Doolin, I don't think it clicked in his mind. I think for whatever reason, he never suspected Richard Allen. There was a handful of men that were there around that time. There was, you had Dan McCain, you had Derek German, you had two gentlemen who were there walking their dogs, one at between like 11 and 12, and then one between 12 and like 1:30. So it wasn't just Richard Allen. All those people came forward and said, "Hey, I was there, and this is what I saw, but I didn't see the girls." So his story matched up with all those other men because they didn't see the girls either. Remember, they got dropped off at the Mears lot. They probably waited around, communicating with their friends. Their friends said, "Hey, we waited as long as we could for you. We're already leaving. We're already on the other side of the trails. We're walking home, or we're walking back to our car, whatever." I don't know if they walked home. I don't know if they got a ride, but they were already crossing the 25 when the girls were dropped off. So they said, most likely said, "Hey, okay, we're not going to be able to meet up with our friends. Let's go to the bridge." That's when they ran into the killer. That's most likely when the whole creepy guy thing began. There was some kind of an exchange. TJ says, in Richard Allen's defense, that video you showed of the dude falsely confessing was pretty detailed. Well, he didn't confess. He just he didn't write that statement. When the Zion case, that's not his statement. He didn't write that. Law enforcement wrote that for him. That's the difference between the confession between Richard Allen, and that's why Judge Gold is allowing them. Because nobody said, "Okay, we see that you're crazy. We've locked you up in solitary confinement. Now we're going to sit you down and you're going to tell me what happened." That didn't happen. He might have been crazy. Yes, he may have been under psychosis. I agree with that, and I don't argue that because that could be true. We now know that he suffered from mental health issues. Could have driven him crazy, but he was confessing on his own. He wasn't sat down in an interrogation room made to think like, "Hey, if you just confess, we're going to let you go." So I don't doubt that he was driven to the verge of insanity, to the edge of insanity, and he began confessing. But that doesn't mean that he's an innocent guy, that he's not confessing to truths. So both things can be true at the same time. But I'm just telling you why I don't put too much weight into confessions. But I'm also trying to show you the difference here. He's not in a confession room being tormented by law enforcement, being led to believe like, if you just tell us what we want to hear, we're going to let you out of this room. That's the difference between those two confessions that I showed you. The difference is Richard Allen was on his own. Nobody was interviewing him. He was talking in one case with his doctor. In another case, he was just in his cell. Cynthia, how will he respond when the crime scene photos are shown to the jurors, his family, these babies? Will he completely break? Well, I don't think we're going to get that far. Hey, Sleuth, did you manage to get a hold of a CVS box cutter to do some tests? That would be fascinating. No, I did order a small box. So when those come in, and then I'm going to get together with Steve and some other folks and try to figure out the best way to go about it. See if we can recreate some kind of serrated wound. Because when I look at that type of box cutter from the CVS, it looks like you could get skin kind of pinched up into the metal there, and it may create a serrated effect. But yeah, I don't know. I should get those on Monday. Hey, Charlotte. Molly says, like during the hearings, I imagine that Mom and Kathy Allen have agreed to leave the courtroom when particularly gruesome evidence is presented that may have been part of his wishes to not plead guilty. Well, they can't just leave in the middle, they have to leave during a break, from my understanding. And it really doesn't matter when they leave because now we know that there's going to be all kinds of media there. They're going to be filming the trial. It's just not going to be filmed to the public. So there's going to be certain parts of the filming that will be released to a few members of mainstream media or approved media. So it's going to be all over the news. We're going to see a lot of these details, and we're going to see video from the courtroom presented to the public. It's just not going to be televised in its entirety. What's up, Yankee? I would hope Kathy Allen would recognize the photo video of BG if it was Richard Allen. And once again, she may have. But what is she supposed to do when she knows her husband has spoken to a member of law enforcement? I believe would recognize my spouse, admitting it would be a different beast, though. And people ask, well, if Richard Allen's guilty, why would he come forward? He came forward as a countermeasure to this right here. This one of the toughest questions about the case is why, people want to blame Kathy Allen. They want to do this, they want to drag his family through the mud. But the truth is, you have to give credit to Richard Allen for a lot of this when it comes to these countermeasures. He's taking steps to ensure that his family doesn't come forward. So him taking a proactive step to call the tip line, knowing damn well that there was witnesses that knew he was there, maybe even his wife was there, knew that he was there. Him coming forward before they have any chance to come looking for him was a countermeasure to counteract this here, Yeah, I mean, that is my husband on the bridge. My husband's the bridge guy. Why do they keep saying he's a suspect? Oh, they must be using that as a psychological tactic to get the real killer, because my husband came forward. I don't know why they keep saying he's a suspect. I don't know why all these crazy social media YouTubers like that crazy sleuth intuition guy, they keep talking about the bridge guy. They won't shut up about the bridge guy. Well, if only they knew that the bridge guy already came forward, they would shut the fuck up. They're convincing themselves, that it's some kind of a tactic. What else? What's the latter? On one hand, my husband's a killer of these two children, this man that I've adored, the father of my child. He killed two young girls. Or on the other hand, the cops are using some kind of strategy, and I know that because my husband came forward. As a woman who's been married to this guy since the first year out of high school, which one are you going to pick? What road are you going down? Now, I know you can argue, well, 6 years later, she went down that road anyway. But that's what they were trying to avoid. That's what she was trying to avoid. All of Richard Allen's fears and the motivations for him committing this double murder are being realized right now. Gilletta, welcome in. Sociopath killers don't confess unless it's for fame. They don't eat their own shit either. Yeah, I don't think he's a sociopath. I think he's a psychopath. Yeah, he could have been following Betsy Blair without her knowledge. And as she's leaving, these two young girls, pass by, and he changes his attention from her to them. But there could be a whole lot that we don't know. Maybe there are others involved. And I kind of, if there are, that's going to give Richard Allen some kind of a bargaining chip, right? He's going to have something to bargain with. Like, look, I'll give you the other, I'll give you the name of the person who helped me in exchange for whatever leniency. But the truth is, all the evidence points to somebody who was going through a really hard time. They were suffering from mental health issues. They may have been looking to harm somebody, maybe even themselves. He appears to be concealing his identity. For what purpose other than I say he went there to be alone and possibly drugs. I feel like those trails might have been where he went to hide that fact from people. He's alone there. He may be comfortable with where the girls' bodies were found. There's a trail right next to the Monon High Bridge. Instead of crossing the bridge, if you take a left and follow along the edge of the creek, along that cliff, there's a trail that leads right down to the crime scene. We've seen Randy do it. We've seen Gray Hughes do it. We've seen a number of people. I think Frosty did it. A number of YouTubers have done it. It's a trail. It's not a hard trail. You could take an ATV down there if you wanted to. Looks like it's been carved out even by horses, hunters, whatever. But there is a trail that if you follow that, it goes right to the crime scene. So he could have been he knows that area. He could have been going down there to have some privacy and maybe to get high. He's concealing his identity because he doesn't want anybody to see him or to recognize him. Like, hey, Kathy, I saw your husband, on the trails. He looked all fucked up. So we don't know why he was trying to conceal his identity. All I know is that whatever was going on was a recipe for what happened. Yep, I think he's a psychopath. The fact that he's able to hide in plain sight means that he felt absolutely no remorse. No empathy. No, I don't know. That's why nobody suspected Richard Allen. He spent his entire life as a psychopath, hiding in plain sight, hiding who he was, living inside his fantasy, not showing any remorse after the murders. If anything, he got a little bit better. It may have even helped him with the stressors that he was dealing with. The fact that his daughter moved out, got engaged, his brother-in-law died in a motorcycle accident. And it's my understanding that he died because he had a female passenger with him and he took off his helmet and gave it to her. So maybe that plays a part in his anger, towards women. I don't know. Maybe he has some issues, some mommy issues. I know that he was adopted by his stepfather, who was a very prominent man in Mexico. That's what I've gathered from the sources that I have there that knew Richard Allen. Those are the same folks that tell me he's the quietest person that they've ever met. He literally didn't say one word over like an 8-year period. So for all we know, he has a lot of skeletons in his closet. He could have a hatred for women. There could be some kind of childhood trauma going on there. We don't know. Because, the fact is we don't even know if he's a guilty man. If he's acquitted and they can't prove that he's guilty, all of the stigma is pretty much erased. It doesn't mean he's innocent. It just means that he most likely is innocent because they can't prove that he's guilty. But I feel like they have enough evidence against him. I feel like he fits the description. Everything fits with Richard Allen, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. You know, um, everybody has been obsessed with the Delphi murders. He's the one person that nobody knew about. Everybody knew about the two guys that were there walking their dogs. We knew about the McCains. We knew about DP. We knew about the Subaru crew. I uncovered Julian Powell through my investigation, who admitted to being there. So we knew everybody and anybody. And the one person that we didn't know about is this man who was having a shitty year. Remember, his birthday, I think, is the 9th of September. It's September when his daughter tells him, not only am I getting married, but I'm moving out. And I'm getting married at the end of this year, or at the end of 2017. So now he has the financial burden, right? Usually that falls on the father of the bride. Okay. Later that month, around the 27th, his brother in law passes away. Okay. So I'm assuming they had to take financial responsibility for a funeral. And it's my understanding that his wife was not taking it very well. So if we are looking at a psychopath, he's not thinking about the pain of losing a loved one. He's thinking about how all these things are affecting him and his way of life. He's not thinking like, damn, my heart is broken. I lost my brother-in-law. I can totally relate to my wife and her pain, her disassociation, her self-medicating, her bipolar behavior. She's hot, she's cold, sad, happy, depressed maybe. The things that people do in their mourning, normal things, normal reactions to tragedy. If he is a psychopath, he's not seeing things that way. He's seeing that his wife is not paying attention to him, not spending time with him, not being sensitive to his needs. His only daughter is leaving him. He's no longer the man in her life. She's leaving me. She's left the house. She doesn't need me anymore. Like, these are all attacks on him. If we're right about him being a psychopath. And we see that all of these stressors that I call it, and we've covered 100 cases. And how many confessions do we have to go over where the killer says, I don't know why I did it. I was stressed out. I've been going through a really rough time. That's their answer in a lot of these cases. And that's what's very similar with Richard Allen's situation. He's dealing with a lot of stressors. There he is, November of 2016, wearing what appears to be the bridge guy jacket. Does owning a blue jacket make you the bridge guy? No. But there he is, 2 months before the murders, wearing the jacket. Very similar, right? He stated that he used a box cutter. That fits the profile. If he's the killer, he's the guy that works at CVS who has a box cutter on him. Why didn't he just shoot the girls? Well, it would have made too much noise. So we have a guy who's just had the worst year of his life, looking to maybe unwind. And instead of unwinding, he finds that it's a snow day. There's people all over the damn trails, kids. And maybe Abby and Libby said something to him. We know that during some interviews with law enforcement, that's a question that they asked. They said, oh, what were you doing out there, taking photographs? And the girls said something to you. They made fun of you and you just snapped. That's actually something that they say during the interviews of people that were there that day. Why are they asking that question? Well, for one, we learned early on in the case that Libby, for one, if she saw that you looked kind of strange, She would secretly try to film you, and then she would kind of make a joke about it. If this guy's having a shitty day, suffering from some kind of mental breakdown, looking to go get some relief on his favorite trails, maybe even under the influence of something, and here are these two girls who are fucking with him. Right? If they wouldn't have fucked with me, I wouldn't have done what I did. That's a psychopath's answer. They wouldn't have did what they did, I wouldn't have done what I did. There's the jacket again. Thanksgiving of 2016. Look at the poofy arm jacket. And I think this is maybe one of those what they call a tactical jacket. You know, you got all these straps, pockets. I definitely don't think it's a Carhartt jacket. I think the only reason he admitted to having a Carhartt jacket was because he knows that that's the blue jacket that he has. And in his mind, he still thinks that people have identified him. So his story has to match with that. Like, yeah, I have a blue jacket. Go test it. Well, knowing damn well that he had multiple blue jackets, or maybe even purchased one after the fact. But the blue jacket that he's wearing in that video is long gone. Welcome in, Spy Guy. Why do I have the feeling this is not the first time for Richard Allen to commit this level of crime? Well, he did do a lot of traveling for his job. He worked in Illinois. He had to travel. That's about an hour and a half drive north of Delphi. He worked at a Walmart there. So if he has any skeletons or any unsolved crimes, it most likely would be between Greenwood, Indiana, and those areas that he was traveling to, or maybe wherever he lived at the time. So I think he lived in Greenwood prior to Delphi. Gilletta says, I do think the sticks were there with intentions of starting a fire later. They just didn't get the chance. I don't know. I think they were just simply there to conceal the bodies. I feel like he panicked. I think he was trying to stage the crime scene, so it did not appear like it was a sexual assault. I think that's what trying to get into his mind and his motivation. Those were his greatest fears. I don't want my family to know that I'm a sick predator. I don't want these fantasies that I keep to myself that I've learned throughout my 40 years, I think 43 at the time, 43, 45. My 45 years of life and learning how to hide who I am on the inside. I don't want that coming out. I think that has a lot to do with the redressing, if that took place. I have a feeling he wanted to redress both the girls. But he was smart enough to know he needs to clean off any DNA from the scuffles that he's had. He was with the girls for an hour and 30 minutes. That's a long time. Like, what are you doing for an hour and 30 minutes? Well, you're probably redressing your victims, staging the crime scene, trying to clean off DNA. You have the creek right there. You might as well use it. We know that he has military training. We know nothing about Richard Allen as the man or anything about his intelligence. And anybody around him, if he is a psychopath, they're going to know what Richard Allen wants them to know.
Dance, baby.
So him flopping around like a fish, that was December of 2016, almost exactly 2 months before the murders. Very nimble. So these clips are from her Facebook post, one being from the video. So if you want to see the older looking sketch and the younger looking sketch, there you have it. So if you walked into the bar and you walked by this man and you went into the restroom and on your way back out, you walk by and see this man, you might say that you saw two men, two separate men. Kate B, what are they saying about Click? I don't know what they're saying about Click, but if it's anything like Ferenczi, the reason he's in jail is because he's a threat to Nick. And you guys, I told you that already. I told you that yesterday when the news broke that people are going to come out with all of these conspiracy theories. So just remember that I said that when those when they do come out and they start saying that, I want you to remember, like, oh, this is what Sleuth told me was going to happen. Now, whether or not they uncovered these crimes, while trying to prove that he was not going to be a reliable witness, that's beside the fact that the crime was committed, right? That's like saying trying to find evidence that Richard Allen is innocent. We can't use that. We can't use that now. It works both ways. But, when you're dealing with hypocrisy, there's no logic at all. It's all about cherry picking. Molly, wait, 12 days till trial? Isn't it 9? Or is he counting 3 days of jury? Yeah, I'm not counting the 3 days of jury selection. I'm counting the 17th being the first day of trial. And I still believe that he will change his plea probably no later than, I don't know, maybe the Tuesday, the 22nd. So they'll have the jury selected by the 17th. They'll have their opening statements, I'm assuming, throughout Thursday and Friday. Then he'll have the weekend to be advised by his attorneys. And I believe he'll make his decision that Monday or Tuesday. That's just my opinion. Cynthia, big mistake, Sleuth, that the defense goes after Abby and Libby in any way, meaning trying to hurt their reputation. What do you mean? How would they go against Abby and Libby? You mean them like photographing him? Well, they're not going to take that approach because that means that's why Richard Allen snapped. Their argument is that it's not Richard Allen on the bridge. Oh, I know, Humanimal. I had to take him away twice. I don't know where the hell he grabbed him from. I checked them all. He didn't puncture anything except for a permanent marker. He gets all guilty. He's like, "Oh shit, you busted me." It's like, "Yep, get your ass inside." Like, can't leave you alone for 5 minutes, dude. But he's still like a puppy. He's a huge dog, but he's just a puppy. He's a love dog. Thank you, Mustang. Says justice for Abby and Libby. Rutro. Oh no, Sleuth. We had one dog that if you left anything he liked, shoes, pens in particular, they were eaten. Got much better at putting my stuff away. Yeah, we try. You know, I woke up, made breakfast, and the wife is sleeping in. Made my coffee, went live, and I told him, I said, "Hey, I'm trusting you." And he gave me the look like, "Okay, I'm good, man. I'm good. I promise." But sure enough. Hey, Sparky. Good to see you. See you later, Humanimal. All right, we'll catch up on the chat. Let's see if you guys have anything to add. If not, we'll get out of here. I'm going to go for a little run. Maybe a bike ride. We'll see. Gilletta, what if his wife did turn him in, and this is all for reward money? Why else would he tell her, if it's too much, just let me know, and I'll tell them everything? Well, it's because they're dragging him through the mud, right? She lost her job, I believe. She had to sell her home. I think she had to move in with her daughter. So I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about. Jacqueline says, if Richard Allen isn't convicted, there will never be anyone else arrested for the crime. Yeah, if it's not him, I mean, we're wasting a whole lot of time and money and effort while the killer could be out there committing other murders. But the truth is, the fact that they matched his bullet, that bullet that was found at the crime scene, to his gun, is almost 100% proof that he was involved. Now, you can argue as much as you want about the science, but that same science and the technology is being used right now to get people out of prison as well. So if you agree with that, that means that we need to put those folks back in jail. So you can't have it both ways. Either it's good science and it was shitty in the 90s. Now the technology is better. We can prove that the bullet wasn't matched to certain guns and certain people need to be released from prison. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say, hey, we're letting him out, but we can't use the same technology and science to convict Richard Allen. So, yeah, at one point it was junk science, because technology, it was just so subjective. They weren't able to, the microscopes weren't as good. The technology just wasn't what it was today. So they're going back on some of the old crimes where they were using tool mark evidence, and they're using the new microscopes to say, hey, look, I can tell you right now that this is not the same gun. Or you definitely can't use this as evidence based on this, this, and that, right? So these people are not only getting new trials, they're being released right on the spot. We've done live streams on that as well. So if the technology can be used to free people, it can be used to convict them. So which is it? Do those other people need to go back to prison because it's junk science? You tell me. CJK, didn't this man have mental health issues to start with that would compound this awful interrogation? I'm not sure. I think just knowing, I think just being in crisis, you're on the verge of a mental breakdown. So it's like law enforcement exploits that. And we're not here to stand up for those guys. And, we talk about corruption a lot on this channel, but we're not confused. We know what nuance is. We know that Richard Allen can be guilty and also be driven to psychosis. Both things can be true at the same time. Richard Allen could be making threats against his life, safekeeping order being placed, and him being placed into solitary confinement. Do I agree with that? No. Even if he is convicted as a killer, I don't agree with our current system. It needs a whole lot of work. But that's not the argument. That's two separate arguments. Do we need to fix our system? Yes. Do we need better systems in place? 100%. Should people be held in solitary confinement? No, never. In the United States of America, we're known for being compassionate. And if we already have these killers in custody, there's no reason to chop off their arms and their feet. Yeah, they're monsters, and yeah, they've done a lot of harm. And maybe we have the urge to kill them and punish them for what they've done to children. Yes. But if we're going to have any type of, we don't want to stoop to that level. So we do need to fix these systems. But that has nothing to do with Richard Allen being guilty of murder. They're two separate things, in my opinion. Two separate conversations. Should he have been held in solitary confinement? No, I don't think anybody should be. I don't care if you're a serial killer. You're already in custody. We got your ass. You can't harm anybody anymore. That's it. Either you can be sentenced to death and in the most humane way, or you can spend the rest of your life in prison. Doesn't mean you need to be left in some kind of a box, right? With no sunlight, no exercise. Because that takes away from our humanity and it makes us almost criminals. The goal is to get them out of society, get them away from normal people who just want to live their lives. It's not to capture them and then torture them. But we need to be able to separate the nuance and have both conversations at separate times. Because if you don't believe Richard Allen should be in solitary confinement, why aren't you arguing about everybody else that's in solitary confinement? Yet you're only concerned with Richard Allen. And you never talk about the potential victims, right? So I don't know about you guys, but I see a pattern. Silas, I know they can lie in interrogation, but to say his dad died is a bit much. I think that, well, they can't lie about anything. So I don't know if that part was legal. There was a lot of mistakes made in that interrogation. I know that they can lie. They can say things like, hey, we have your friend in the other room, and they told us everything. When really they did, refused to talk. I don't know if they can say, hey, we saw your dad, we saw his dead body. That may have been illegal. So there's limits to these things. And maybe we can do a live stream on that and we can get down to the bottom of what those limits are. Mustang, yes. Didn't you show this case before, Sleuth? Just asking because I remember seeing it. Yeah, we did a live stream on false confessions. Because everybody was saying, oh, Richard Allen confessed. Of course, he's 100% guilty. The point I was trying to make is he can be guilty and still be making false confessions. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. Yeah, exactly, Gilletta. When you just them saying, hey, we've seen your dad and he's dead. Remember, he's the guy that called it in. He said, hey, I had an argument with my father and he went missing. Like he's the concerned citizen. He's the one who loves his father. He's the one that wants resolution. And then to hear, oh, my father's dead? Like nothing else matters. That's what's ringing in his ears. My father's dead. This person that raised me, this person that I love, this person that has gone missing, and we just got into a fight. The guilt of that could have been overwhelming. Then here you got these scumbag police officers saying, yeah, he's dead. And you killed him. It's fucked up. It's not right. We're not here to support people like that at all. They give law enforcement a bad name. But we're also not here to say that's what's happening here with Richard Allen. Silas says, Gray Hughes made a good point on Court TV when he said he was there. They should have shown him the photo and said it came from a trail cam. If he admits it's him, case closed. Sadly, mistakes were made. Yeah, I mean, hindsight is 20/20. Maybe. Hey, what's up, Tinfoil? They probably showed him the crime scene pictures during one of his interrogations. They do that to get a confession out of people. Yeah, they need to stop doing that. Have you guys seen the documentary, The Confession Killer? They would show the guy, the suspect, like all of the crime scene files, the photos, all the details. And then they would say, well, tell me what happened. And he just wanted to be helpful. He wanted the attention. It kind of reminds me of Elvis Fields. Like, I've never had this much attention in my life. Like, I'll admit to 100 murders. If you just keep hanging out with me, bringing me takeout food, bringing me this delicious coffee, you're acting like you're my pals, you're making me feel important. Tell me what else you want me to confess to. Show me the case file. Something very similar was done in the West Memphis 3 case with Jesse Miskelly. They showed him all the crime scene photos. They interrogated him for like 8 hours, and then they finally recorded 45 minutes of his confession, which was really coached. Does that mean he's innocent? I don't know. Definitely doesn't help. Yep, I agree, CJK. Yeah, I don't know enough about it, Jacqueline, but I agree with you. I've said that from the beginning, but the investigators made a lot of mistakes. But as long as they don't give the defense team any fuel, like violating Richard Allen's rights and things like that, he's going to stand trial for this. And if they can prove without a reasonable doubt that he's at least tied to the crime scene, he's going to go down for this. For one, he has no alibi. 2, he basically admitted to being the bridge guy on his own. And then 3, they're going to scientifically prove that he's tied to the crime scene with that bullet. And the cherry on top, of course, will be the confessions, especially depending on the context. Law enforcement, if she should get the reward money, doesn't matter that the motivation if she had. Yeah, I agree. Whoever tipped in Richard Allen, right, which in my opinion had to have happened, somebody gave them the name Richard Allen. And it happened during the Wabash River search. Was that Keegan Kline? I don't know. Somebody gave them that name, or somebody gave them the idea to check absolutely everything. But it's my opinion somebody gave him that name. They had to type in the name Richard Allen for that lost tip to pop up in the system. Who that was, I don't know. But if that did happen, they definitely deserve that reward. Silas, I think that'll be available pretty soon. If it's made public, we'll get our hands on that pretty soon, I'm sure. Thanks, Mustang. Always good to see you. Hey, Red Queen. Can't fully accept the lone wolf theory because this is not the day press conference. What do you mean? All I know is that others are involved. That's going to help. That's going to give Richard Allen a reason to, or something to bargain with. Hey, Cindy, Sleuth, the police know who made the original post about the police have cleared BG and to stop talking about it, correct? Yeah, I just don't think they were clear about it. You know, they had this sketch that they had created from a group of sketches. And they realized that some of the sketches that they used were not the suspect. You know, it's people that were searching on the trails. So when they mean that this person is no longer a person of interest, what they mean is that it's not even a person. It's like 5 people. So we're not going with this. We're going with this sketch here, which is the suspect. We believe that this is our guy, and it was seen by one person. We're not confused about any of the features on his face or any of that. This is the guy we believe committed the murders because of the timing, because of the entirety of the investigation. And the other guy is no longer a person of interest, but he's not another guy. He's literally 5 different guys that have been Frankensteined, bits and pieces put together like Mr. Potato Head. That's what they meant. And they didn't clear that up. But if you're somebody that knew Richard Allen, suspected Richard Allen of being a bridge guy, that's going to help you to stay silent. You're going to say, well, I know that Richard Allen is the bridge guy. I know that he came forward. And I also believe he matches the old guy sketch. But law enforcement's telling me he's no longer a person of interest. So I guess I'll keep my mouth shut and I'll just stay confused by it. It must be some kind of tactic or strategy by the investigation. Plausible deniability. So they dropped the ball by doing that. They should have clarified from the very beginning that it's not that the older looking sketch is no longer a person of interest. They should have clarified what they meant by it, how they created the sketch, and that they're going with this one because it's more specific to their timeline and it's narrowed down. Hey, Anthony, how closely do you think Richard Allen was following this case or just figured he got away with it and didn't pay much attention? I think he was following it very closely. He could have even been watching videos. Remember, I got that crazy Facebook message. I'm sure it was just a troll and somebody probably gets a chuckle out of it every time I bring it up. But it was a guy by the name of Beleth Gremery. And it's probably a YouTuber who was just trolling me. But this person said that they alluded to the fact that they were the killer. They even said that they knew Anthony Greeno, and that if they wanted to at any point, they could chop off one of his fingers for, just for the fun of it. And Beleth Gremery is the name of 2 demons. And this person was sending private messages to me and was also harassing YouTubers and sending photographs that looked like crime scene photos. They had Libby's face all beat up and bruised. It was really disgusting. Now, could it have been Richard Allen? Possibly. Most likely a troll. Yeah. They probably get a kick out of it saying, ah, ha, ha, ha. But I mean, you never know. All that information was tipped in. So we'll find out later. But yeah, he definitely acted like he was the killer. He was using the name Beleth Gremery, BG, but also the name of 2 demons. Was talking very dark, doing a lot of evil shit. So even if it was a troll, whoever it was a piece of shit. Could it have been Richard Allen? Yeah, definitely. We had the guy Richard Allen Hill, who was on Facebook, joined the Facebook groups, and was very curious about the gun. All he would talk about is the gun. Do you think that he used a gun? Did the killer use a gun? When you look at the video, do you see a gun? Those were all his questions, were all about the gun. And everybody was like, I don't know. I think that there's a gun. Oh, well, what about the audio? Do you think that the girl said that he has a gun? Oh, he argues about that in different Facebook groups. And it looks like eventually he's convinced because people convince him, like, no, we don't hear anything about a gun. You can't prove that that's a gun in the video. And then this Richard Allen Hill just disappeared. Richard Allen down, guys down the hill. And then this person just disappeared. But he was in a few different Delphi Facebook groups trying to glean information and was very curious about whether or not people believed that there was a gun involved. And I have a feeling that if it was Richard Allen, it's him wondering, hey, do I need to get rid of this gun? But that ego, remember, these guys think they're smarter than law enforcement, and the same thing that causes them to commit these murders eventually will be the same thing that gets them busted. Just like these trolls. The same thing that causes them to be trolls is the same thing that will create chaos in their own life. So don't mess with trolls. Those things have a way of working themselves out. It's the same thing. They're both predatorial. They're predators. They feel like they're losing power, right? This guy doesn't agree with me. He's saying I'm wrong. He blocked me. I've taken their power away. How do they regain their power? Well, then they start stalking online, trying to get you fired. They turn their computers into some kind of station for war. Oh, you think I can't get to you? Wait till I start harassing your wife, right? People were showing my address. They showed a picture of my house with a map and photographs of my kids. That's what they were sharing around. So it's the same thing. It's the same psychology. But the same thing that causes them to be ridiculous human beings is the same thing that will take care of them in the end. In my opinion. Flannel shirt guy, I believe, was one of the McCains. Yep, I think so too, Jacqueline. I think we're dealing with a psychopath. That's why he was able to hide in plain sight. He went home and slept like a baby. And after coming forward and not being arrested, and then I think he may have panicked a little bit when the bridge guy photos came out, but gained confidence, the more that time went on. I agree with that, Jacqueline. He's not as smart as he thinks, but he's definitely smarter than most people believe that he is. Yep, exactly, CJK. He plays dumb. He's been playing dumb. He loves to be the small guy, the little guy. Little old me. What's up, Frank Meister? Good to see you. Linda says, I know he worked at the Walmart in Bradley, and I heard they questioned some of the employees. Yep, I keep getting confirmation in my comments and my emails that he worked there. And I have a couple people who want to get together, and we're still working on some scheduling things. But yeah, I'm building sources, guys. And when I have that information, I'll have it for you. Not all of everything that I look into in my own investigation, I don't make it all public. But it does help with my narrative, and it helps me formulate my opinions. But a lot of it is based on things that you guys don't see behind the scenes. Sensei, floppy fish and screeching. I hate that video. True Crime Swine 85. I didn't realize how much that hat on the far right looks like BG's. Oh, yeah, you're talking about this one. Yep, notice the little bill on it too. It's got a little brim. Yes, sir. Sparky. Yeah, so just remember when they start coming out with these conspiracies about Todd Click and how he's being targeted. Like the dude broke the law. Bottom line. You know, they want their cake and they want to eat it too. They want tool mark evidence to get people out of prison that were falsely accused, but they don't want it used to convict people. They want to accuse cops of being corrupt unless it's the cop that they need to testify on their behalf. Then he's a good cop, you know. Cops are good when we need them and when they're useful to us. It's, you know, we're just dealing with hypocrites, really. But I leave them to it, each to their own. I think Steve said something the other day on one of his live streams that I thought was really important. You know, we need them. We need those folks to slow down the process. And I couldn't agree with him more. That's why we need defense attorneys, and that's why we need people like Bob Mata, Rosie Baldwin. You know, they're the last ditch effort to prevent innocent people from going to prison. And also these people who like to call themselves, you know, the watchers of the watchmen. Sometimes they get it right. And I'm just here to say, I think, in my opinion, when it comes to Richard Allen, they just got it wrong this time. But I could be wrong too. All that matters is if, you know, the truth comes out and that Abby and Libby get justice. Rocks and dirt. Hey, Hiawatha. Yeah, I heard back in the day pregnant women used to eat dirt too. I figured that would be like an iron deficiency, maybe. That makes sense. Thank you, Sensei. Yeah, we're going to get out of here, so I might zip past a few of you. Let's go to people that haven't really been mentioned here. Darlene, welcome in. Had to stop what I was doing to reply. Sleuth is very right. Alan can be guilty of the crime of murder, but these confessions may not be a voluntary legal confession. Yep. Both things can be true at once. We covered a case where a guy, he ended up being they determined that he was insane at the time of a murder. But even though he was insane at the time of the murder, he was feigning mental illness and he was malingering throughout the process. But just because he's malingering doesn't mean that he wasn't insane at the time of the murders. So he was found to be insane and he went to a mental hospital. What happened was he had somebody came to check on his children, and somebody from the state. It was their job to kind of check on the kids and to make sure everything was going good. Well, he said he blacked out, murdered this woman, and when he woke up, he was covered in blood. He didn't try to cover up the crime. He didn't try to do anything. He went directly to the hospital and said, "Hey, something's wrong with me. I think I'm having a mental breakdown. You know, this woman showed up to my house. I blacked out. I woke up. She was dead. Apparently, it looks like I'm pretty sure I stabbed her to death, but I have no recollection of it." So he went and kind of turned himself in immediately and said, "I need somebody to go take care of my kids. I just wanted to get out of the house so I didn't hurt them also." Well, throughout the process, while he was in prison, he was acting like he was making all these false confessions and he was malingering. But the judge still determined, like, yeah, even though he was doing those things throughout the process and throughout the trial, that doesn't negate the fact that he was in fact, insane. That he had absolutely no recollection and no control over what he did. So both things can be right at the same time. What's up, Fretless? Welcome in. All right. Let's see. We'll go to a few more. Let's go to Israel. Says people falsely confess all the time. I hope they have a confession expert. I don't know, but I can see him being involved, but not alone. No way alone. Yep. There's a lot of people out there that would agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if there was others involved, but from what I see with the evidence, he's totally capable of doing this on his own, and he most likely did. I personally move with the evidence and what the facts say. Okay, let's go to a few more. Let's go to Teddy. Good to see you, Teddy. Really pissed. It's a crapshoot on whether you'll get a seat at the trial or not. I really want to go. Yeah, I mean, it's really limited. So if you're going to do it, you got to get there early, and you got to compete with people like the Murder Sheet. I know probably Frank Meister will be down there, and they all get there pretty early. They only have, I believe, 10 available seats. They got 10 for the family, 10 for visitors, or maybe even less, and then like a row of seats for the media. It's very limited. If you guys want specifics on that, just go look at the recent decorum order or one of the recent documents, and they have specifics there. Okay, let's go to just a couple more, and then I got to go. Babs, welcome in. He doesn't have to have been recognized by the face. May have recognized his body language on the video. Yeah, but that's not going to stand up in court. That kind of stuff might help to locate the suspect, but when it comes down to getting a conviction, they need something more solid, in my opinion. Tim Perry, good to see you. Justice for Abby and Libby, thank you for that. Okay, so I apologize if I didn't get to your guys' comments. Hey, Thin Mint, I'm doing well, thank you. All right, guys, that is going to do it. I want to give a special shout out to Sensei. Thank you for your support. Thank you for that flex. CJK with the big bicep there. Thank you for the flex. Sensei with the super chat. Thank you for sponsoring today's live stream along with Audra. And again, Sensei and all of you who support me and continue to donate to my Cash App. You make this possible. And we're going to continue to grow as a channel. This platform belongs to you. Most importantly, to the cases that we cover, those, the victims' families who are involved. It's here for whenever they need it. But most importantly, guys, we need to stay grounded. We need a safe place to go. The only payment that you have to focus on is having to deal with my opinion. So if you can suffer through it, that's the price you pay for having this safe space. So if you can stomach it, everybody's welcome. We just ask that you don't bash any of the victims' families. We don't do any victim shaming. We don't talk about other YouTube channel content creators. And we don't act like a bunch of triggered trolls. And if you can agree to disagree, you'll always have a place here. Until next time, guys. Peace.